Hi everyone, it's BDevine. Thank you so much for joining me. We are going to be looking at the energy of the planet Pluto and how this is going to move through Aquarius for the next 20 years and what this means for you. So a really good idea is to make sure you know, if you're looking at your natal chart, where Aquarius is, what house that is. There's 1 to 12 houses and there's 1 to 12 zodiac signs. And for some of you, you may have Aquarius sitting in 2 different areas, okay, which is a double whammy for you, but still, just make sure you know. And some people say they don't have Aquarius. Everybody has Aquarius somewhere in their chart. All of you have every single sign of the zodiac in your chart. So once you have all that, okay, and you know which house Pluto is in for you, for example, Aquarius is my 9th house. So Pluto will be in my 9th house for the next 20 years. And I will explain what each house means as we go along. So first of all, let's get a little bit of information about Pluto itself. I have some here. Let's share. Okay. So Pluto is the planet of rebirth and transformation. The force behind it can be seen as a powerful cleansing impulse that changes profoundly wherever it goes. Its influence brings anything to the surface, whether it comes from the depths, your instincts, or from the beyond spirit. It is different from Mars. In fact, it's considered to be 3 times stronger, whose focus is the pursuit of survival and personal fulfillment. It is at the service of a greater force moved by a higher purpose. It is no longer the individual that generates force and energy. These are now universal and express themselves through the being. Instead of fighting and conquering for themselves, the individual becomes part of a way that acts through the collective, fighting for common goals. Will and desire are shared by everyone, although each responds to these cosmic properties in different ways. Okay, so let's see. Pluto, the slowest of the planets, hardly moves daily. Its total displacement is less than 2 minutes per day. And even then, it is very variable due to its orbit. So it takes approximately 248 years to make a complete circle around the zodiac. And as it has an eccentric orbit, once a year it retrogrades for about 5 months. The number of years spent in each sign varies from 12 to 32. House 8 is associated with Pluto, Scorpio, and it also has Mars as its ruler, right? So 248 years, transformation, deep changes, and reforms. Okay, so what is this going to mean for you? We're going to start off with the first house. Okay, so have a look at your natal chart. Look it up. There's free astrocharts.com, anywhere where you can put in your information of where you were born, what day, of course, and what time. Location is extremely important too, but the time is going to be important because it will move the houses around a little bit, okay? If you don't know exactly what time, you will be given, I think it's about 6 a.m. that they just do a generic sort of setting. But anyway, it'll give you an idea of where Pluto was when you were born and where it is, where Aquarius is on your natal chart and how to find it. So once you've found it, come back to the video. So I'm going to start off with position 1, Pluto in position 1. This is your personal identity, your self-expression, your ego presence, your performance, your charisma, your image, your persona, appearance, your focal point, the spotlight, self-esteem, dignity, pride, consciousness, individuality, and I am. So first sign of the zodiac is usually Aries, okay? It is Aries. But you might have Aquarius as your first house, which also means it could be your rising sign as well, your ascending sign, which means that as you move through, let me just get this off of here. Oops, stop the share. As you move through, let me see. As you move through, Pluto moves through Aquarius, you are going to be going through some tremendous changes in your own personality, who you are. Okay, this is extremely important. So over the next 20 years, this will happen. So it won't be an instantaneous, although some people do feel that way. I definitely feel a difference with it being in my 9th house. So I've got some notes. You're initiating new desires, new ideas. You're looking at yourself in a completely different way. So this is for Pluto in Aquarius, the first house, okay? You're evolving in a way, okay, that is going to shift the way that you see yourself. Your first house is how other people also perceive you. So your rising sign, okay, is extremely important to your outward, okay? So how people will look at you, how they perceive you, what you're bringing forward, you know, so how you act in public, how you act on camera, how you act in a restaurant. This is how people see you, okay? The public image of you. But it's also a very, very personal transformation. So this is going to be about impulses. It's going to be an evolution of your sexuality as well, what you're bringing to the table in many different ways. There could be, as you go through this process, a lot of transformations in your relationships, right? Because the first house is opposite the 7th house of relationships. So because you're changing, so too could your relationships change. You might break free in some way or another of something that is continually plaguing you, okay? So people with Aquarius in the first house, and it's your rising sign, okay, you're going to have Pluto transforming and evolving you personally to get out of your own way, right? And to stop making concessions or excuses in your life for things that you know that you're doing as well. You cannot sabotage yourself anymore. As Pluto moves through Aquarius in your first house, you're going to be challenged to really, really open yourself up to who you are and why you do what you do. And also your physical self and your physical appearance will take on a transformation if you be honest with yourself. Okay. So I always say that we all know what we're doing with regards to what we're eating, if we're not losing weight or if we are, okay? You know, if you're not losing weight, you're eating too much crap, right? You're not exercising enough. You're probably loaded with sugar. And one of the biggest things is sugars in hidden sugars in things. Okay, when I started really looking at my sugar levels, I thought I didn't have much sugar because I don't have sugar in coffee or anything like that. I don't add sugar, right? But there's sugar already in things. So sugar is the silent killer. You know, you've got to get it out of your body. Start having sugar-free options. But anyway, it's about being really honest with yourself, okay? You can't say that you're doing something with Pluto in Aquarius in your first house and not be doing it. Okay, so if you're not doing something that you say that you're doing, you will get called out on this as well. If you break free, you're going to consciously want to break free, whether it's from work, or break free from partners, break free from friendships, anything restrictive for you. You could also find yourself having an opportunity where you can look at your anger, okay? Look at things that really are deep down in your vibration, in who you are, right? Something that still annoys you, okay? Something that has been wasting your time and wasting your energy for a long time, where you've been focusing on this thing that makes you angry, or everybody gets away with something, or you're annoyed about how you were treated, or how you were picked on in school. Okay, so whatever the circumstance is, something that you're angry about needs, and it will have no choice but to come out, right? It's going to come out. You're going to feel a lot more impulsive, right? Listening to your instincts. The transformation, after all, is in your first house, your self. You are who you are, right? So even if you think that you can hide something, or that you can ignore something, or that you can push something away from you, or that no one will know something, right? You're going to go through, it's just going to be too obvious, okay, exactly what's going on with you. It's just too obvious. It will just be on the surface. And you're going to have to really, really deal with your own crap, where you sabotage, where you've been letting things go, where you've been saying that you've been doing something and you haven't, right? Where you've been listening to others and not really putting it to work for you. Like you've been expecting in some ways something to happen for you. Okay, you're going to be called out on all of that. And it's going to be obvious to you that you do that to yourself. And in the same token, it's also going to be something that you're urging yourself to do, is to transform. You're urging yourself to change all of these things. You're can experience other people who will notice this change in your notice this change in you as well. You're going to, so even though we have these things where, you know, there's some negative things that we need to look at, and this is going to be for every single house. There's going to be something that you need to look at. There's something that you need to delve into. There's something that you need to stop kidding yourself about, right? And as you go through this transformation within yourself, you can't help but have different people surrounding you, because the same old people, those things aren't going to work anymore. The same old situations aren't going to work anymore. Okay. Right. So there's also going to be, in some cases, if you ignore yourself, if you ignore your habits, if you ignore your personality, if you keep on expecting something to just shift for you and you don't have to do anything, if you keep being dishonest with yourself about what you're eating, how you're exercising, how you're focusing, what is occupying your mind, how you're showing up, if you keep on pretending that you're doing something and you're not, or you're being inauthentic in some way, then you won't go through the evolution process of Pluto very easily. It will be difficult for you in some way. And sometimes there can be people who are not advancing energetically and go through the side of things where health issues can actually come up, right? So physical problems can happen. There could be adrenal problems, glandular problems, thyroid, all the glandular systems, muscles. Okay, you could go through issues, blood toxicity here, the head, the intestine, the colon, the liver, the prostate, the cervix, the ovaries, the womb, the navel chakra as well. Accidents causing physical problems are possible if you are ignoring yourself and you're not being honest with yourself. You will be forced to be honest with yourself, right? So it's a need to examine what is preventing your growth. House number 1. So with Pluto moving through the first house, you can feel anxious, you can feel different inside of yourself, you can feel an energy surging, okay? But you have to ask yourself, what is this? What am I doing to myself? And for most of you who are going through your spiritual journey, just one second here. Most of you, right, so for most of you going through your spiritual journey, you're already aware of your own self, your habits, the things that you're always concerned about, the things that you're always thinking about, how you're always showing up, okay? And you know how there's always some kind of urgency within you to get 1,000 things done, how you beat yourself up, okay? How you feel anxious, how you feel different. And now's the time where you really start to work on it and delve into it. Because Pluto will make you look at yourself in a different way, and it will cause situations to change around you that will also force you to really evaluate what's worth your time and what's worth your energy. And those are two of my favorite things, right? What's worth your time? What's worth your energy? Where are you bullshitting yourself? I'm telling you, okay? Because people spend a lot of time and a lot of money going back over things and around the corner, and this thing says it, and this person says this person says that, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, but they don't actually do it. So you're going to be caused to look at this. You're going to be breaking through to the other side. If you're looking for a change in your appearance, this is going to be what's going to happen. If you let go of all of your own drama and allow this transformation to come forward, being honest with yourself every step of the way, your appearance will change. You'll lose that stubborn weight if you have it. You will balance things. You will look at yourself, look at where, you know, if you've got an issue going on within your physical body, don't allow it. And the reason that I say that is because people always claim things all of the time. I've got, I have, if I don't, I must. All of that I stuff needs to change into I am doing. I am better. I am stronger. I am capable. I am confident. Instead of all of this other unnecessary. I mean, that works for anyone as well. And everyone will be called out in some way on their own BS. Okay. And then this will help you to transform. And it's going to give you what you actually want if you listen to it as well. Giving you exactly what you want and exactly what you need. Okay. So there's a metamorphosis for Pluto being in the first house. Write down a list of things about yourself that only you know. The way that you think, okay? The things that occupy your time. Who stresses you out? Why? Why do you let them? And you're looking at the shadow aspect of yourself as well and taking your power back. So over the next 20 years will be your biggest evolutionary leap, with Pluto being in your first house, your rising sign of Aquarius, okay? You'll start to get to understand yourself in a much deeper way if you do this inner work, okay? If you allow this inner work, okay? So moving on to, I was going to do these individually, but it's too much. So I'm just going to keep going and I'll timestamp them. All right. Here we go. All right. So we have Pluto going into the second house. This is normally Taurus. But if you have Aquarius as your second house, you're going, so this is about survival. This is about liquid assets. This is about personal finances. Okay, so it's opposite the 8th house, which is about shared finances. So this is your personal finances and resources, your emotional security, your possessions, your food, nutrition, digestion, your income, your values, your needs, moods, fluctuation, accumulation, nurturing. Mum energy can be here too, but it's generally in the 4th because that's your home and family. Okay. Now, I am no expert on this, but I've got a general idea from past lives, wherever it just comes out. Okay. So I do give a lot of advice with regards to your natal chart. So obviously, if you want that, you know where I am. Second house. So this is our survival. This is our resources. Pluto is going to call you out on stuff. So let's see. Okay. Let's stop that share. Hopefully you still got me. Okay. So through the second house. Interesting. Pluto, if your Aquarius is your second house, then Pluto is going to be there for the next 20 years. This is going to change things. Okay. Everyone is going through an evolutionary transformation depending on what house Pluto will sit in. So by now you know if it's the second house or wherever it is. So you will experience in how you are relating to yourself, okay, even though it's the second house, and also how you're relating to others, how you see yourself, and then how you relate to others. The evolutionary impulse that this process induces is one of intense self-examination. So there could be a resistance in this with you. A resistance to look at yourself, a resistance to look at how you present. Even though this is not the first house, the second house it really promotes a condition where you will become aware of anything that about your self-worth that is lacking. Why is it about your self-worth? Because in order for you to generate an income, in order for you to manifest, right, you need to feel good about yourself. You need to be able to see your worth, okay? So all these people who doubt themselves, doubt their abilities, doubt everything all of the time, constantly contrary all of the time, you are probably not going to be or haven't been very lucky in manifesting. You might have a decent income or whatever, but you're not getting more, okay? It's because of how you see yourself. Now, sometimes this transformational process, if you're not waking up to who you are as a soul and what you're doing here and your growth and your worth and all these things, if you're still finding value through someone else's opinion of you, okay, then this is going to be challenged greatly with Pluto going into your second house of finances, income, resources, your own personal ability to manifest, right? So you need to find meaning and value in your current life, okay? Forgetting whatever programming you've had as well. And you need to have a desire to expand how you are expressing yourself in this lifetime as well. Sometimes there will be things that will force you to rely on yourself, okay, that will come up. There will be things where everything will be gone. And, all your friends, all the people that you rely on to cheer you up, maybe even social media, whatever it is. What if all of this was pulled away from you? It will cause you to rely on yourself, to start looking at yourself in a different way, right? And then there could also be a lot of emotional shocks that could come up, right? Where you're forced to actually generate things in a different way for yourself. Okay. Also the energy is about past lives in some ways and how you lived your life. And if Pluto was coming through your second house for the next 20 years, you're also going to have to release a lot of your past and learn from your past mistakes. This isn't about blaming anybody else. This isn't about saying, if only I'd had a better upbringing, then I'd be a better person and I wouldn't have this and I wouldn't have that. Again, every single house is going to have a self-examination. Every single house is going to have something that you really need to pay attention to. There is going to be no room for you to bullshit yourself. And I'm saying that to everybody on every house, okay? Because if you do, you're going to be in for a much more challenging time than if you're going with this transformation. If you don't listen to different things and you're going to stay unhealed and you're going to stay moaning about your life and you're going to stay wishing things were different but not actually doing anything. Okay, these are extreme cases, right? Most of you are listening are ready for the next chapter. But the physical problems that could happen, kidneys, lower back, psychological functioning, hearing, problems with the structure of the ear, circulation difficulties stemming from blockages in the veins, arteries, right? Stones in the kidneys, urinary tract or gallbladder, cysts on the ovaries or the womb stemming from extremes in your hormonal levels, okay? Headaches could be toxicity buildup in the kidneys, giving you these headaches, okay? And problems associated with the heart chakra. That's if you don't listen. People who are in unhealed realities are constantly going on about their problems anyway, right? So they own it all. They go to the doctor, they get the same thing, they get a checkup every year, you know, they listen to whatever the doctor gives you as a prescription, and they believe it, and therefore it keeps on happening. Your evolutionary process. Now, I can tell you right now that there are people who have the same house. Okay, so they might have Pluto moving through their second house, and they don't have any health issues at all, whereas someone else who is rejecting the evolutionary process, okay, will continue to have these problems over the next 20 years. Again, anything can be healed. Anything can be changed. And this is where I come in with you in your life, where I can point out stuff you're not even aware of. You don't even realize what you've been going through in your life, right? Because a lot of times what we do is we ignore the self. So we're like, oh, that was no big deal. This was no big deal. This was no problem. That was no problem. And it is a problem because your body's going through crap, right? So the soul desires, you as a soul, you are desiring evolution. You are desiring change. You really want this. You want the transformation. However, you want it to be easy. Hey, it can be simple. It can be just like that. But that would require you to be listening to your self-worth all the time, to be altering the way that you process things all of the time, okay, to catching yourself in your own bullshit all the time, right? Your own self-hate, your jealousies, your comparison, okay, your self-worth issues, why others have money and you don't, okay? Or if you do have a lot of money, okay, then you could go through this change within yourself about even increasing it, or being able to give it, or being able to be more aware of other areas of lack in your life as well, as part of the evolutionary process. Okay. Sometimes, let's see. So if there has been also a lot of psychological problems for you. So, for example, sometimes what can happen is that there are, in the second house, there can be voices, okay? Now, when I'm connecting with let me just be clear, when I'm connecting with my guides and my angels or whatever, right? One, I've already protected myself. Okay, so I know that the channel's clear. And two, it's an internal sound. It's not something outside of myself. It's an internal listening, reception, okay? Voices, whatever, but it's internal. So it sounds like my own voice. Okay, because I'm channeling and telepathically, internally. So I'm going to hear it inside. Disembodied energy, okay, or negative talk outside of yourself, okay, can be an attachment. Now, if you go to a psychologist, they might treat you for bipolar or schizophrenia, okay, or a number of different personality disorders. So an emotional disorder, personality disorder, psychological disorder, it all actually stems from a spiritual disorder, okay? But if your mind goes through and starts to play tricks on you, if you haven't done a clearing, if you haven't worked on yourself spiritually ever, if you've never cleared yourself of these lower vibrations, okay, it's going to be time. Karmically, you also might be going through a transformation where you feel like you want to give, okay? Now, maybe you've received your whole life. Now you're going to go through the giving. And if you've given your whole life, you might go through the receiving. But if you don't look at your self-worth, okay, if you don't look at your resources, if you don't look at things positively, if you don't really watch what you're saying and how you're presenting even, okay, then you could go through those physical things as well. There's an inner evaluation, even with a second house. It's an inner evaluation that you will be going through. And as I said to you, some people do, and some people don't take it on. However, this will be really, really something that is more than likely going to be pushed upon you, where you will have no option but to look at all of these areas of your life. Okay, that's why I wanted to do this today, because, you know, we really need to look honestly at ourselves, because we can blame everybody else in our life for every situation as much as we want to. It doesn't take away from our own suffering with it, right? So only when you look at yourself through compassionate lenses, look at your resources, look at how you present, look at who you are, look at the way that you were brought up, and change those things if you didn't like them. You know, if you have an anger problem, okay, remember that that's just you being angry at you for the way that someone makes you feel. Why do you let them have so much power? Why do you let that come out? Okay. For Pluto, if you've been poor your whole life and Pluto's moving through your personal finances, you got to get right with your worthiness issues and heal them. Again, if you can't, come to me. I will help you. I will be brutally honest with you, but I will help you, okay? And help you spiritually, physically, mentally, all of those things. But you're really going to have to get right. You're going to have to switch on, You're going to have to realize that you've had past incarnations. Okay. You've also had times when you were in the afterlife as well. Maybe you were there for a long time. Maybe it's time to start to recognize the different aspects of yourself, because that is definitely coming up. So if we remember, let's have a look at this real quick. If we remember, the second house is about your survival. It's about your assets. It's about your personal finances, your emotional security, possession and resources, food, nutrition, digestion. What's going in? What are you doing to yourself, right? Your nurturing, your accumulation of items. We understand this is about your survival. Okay, it's opposite to other people's energy with joint finances and all that, which we'll get to later. But it's looking at your own value, okay? Your own self-worth. Hopefully this is going into a full screen when I come back to myself. Okay, for the second house. Okay, so now we move into the third house. So if you look on your natal chart and Aquarius is your third house, okay, I'm going to talk you through what that might mean for you. It would actually be a really good idea for you to listen to all of them anyway. But that's up to you. Okay, let me screen share this. Third house, okay? What's the third house about? Mobility, vehicles, right? Cars and all that stuff. Short trips, distribution, local media, transportation, communication, lower education, so stuff you did in primary school. And the opposite is higher education, you see? See how this works? Okay. This is really 1 through 6 is your childhood stuff, and then the rest are how you're incorporating it as an adult. Anyway, third house, siblings, neighborhood, networking, inquiries, communication. It's ruled by Mercury, normally Gemini's right, third house ruler, right? So we have Mercury here, contacts, communication, right? Here we go. So for you, with Pluto sitting here over the next 20 years, there's the negative aspect of you not listening, okay? And then very, very positive aspects if you do. So for you, the process will be quite intense with how you are communicating. For some of you, over the next 20 years, there'll be changes in dynamics with relationships, with your siblings, okay? The way that you communicate perhaps in your family also. There will be no room for you to be, as I've been saying through all of the houses, bullshitting yourself. There's no room for that. No room for that anymore, okay? Because if you start to really, really pull back or try to hide from Pluto's influences, it will have a negative effect on you, okay? You have to develop new points of view, new ways of seeing things, okay? New ways of communicating and receiving communication as well. So you're letting go or eliminating things that are superficial as well. And you can awaken to the reasons of why you might think the way that you think in the first place, right? You might be having a lot of memories about your childhood, going to school and friends and how you connected and things that you used to do when you were young and things that you don't do anymore, right? So, I was always making up scenarios when I was a kid that I was Diana, what's her name? Wonder Woman. right? I just was like, I was Diana. And so I would make everybody do skits with me, or, we'd come up with stories and adventures about what was happening with Diana. And of course, Diana was going to come in and rescue, everybody and save the day, right? So it's funny just thinking about that and thinking about Wonder Woman and all this sort of stuff. I'm still doing that today. Coming in and here, I can help you. Let's do it. But it was a game back then, right? So what things are still sticking around from then with you, and what things have you let go of? What things have moved away from you, right? It's like pouring with rain. So this is nice. There could also be a lot of intellectual growth here, where you're getting bored with one way of doing things, moving into a new way of experiencing, new knowledge, new systems, new ideas, new communications. Some of you might be in the communication field, and therefore you're changing the way that you talk, the way that you broadcast things is different, okay, as well. And the way that you relate to others and the information that you're receiving could also be different as well. Travel can be a little more. It's not really talking about big trips or whatever, but how you travel, how you present, how you move ahead. Okay, so if we're talking about it in a spiritual way as well. So new information coming in, also deeper knowledge about your nature, yourself. Okay, why you relate to some of your siblings and why you don't. Some of you might be cutting off your siblings. Okay, you might be going through that metamorphosis of understanding that you were carrying everything. Maybe you were keeping dysfunction alive. Maybe you were doing as you were told in your family, and therefore, feeling resentful about that as well. Maybe you're the sort of person that always organizes everything, and therefore you're going to get sick of that too, because you've already gone through the second house with Pluto, right? So you've already gone through that metamorphosis. And so now you're into the next one. The way that you communicate your ideas is going to be very, very important. What you see as your abilities are important. Where you're wasting your time and energy will be important as well. And a need for you to expand your mental horizons, how you're thinking about things, and therefore how you're doing things is extremely important as well. Physical problems that can occur during the process, okay, are usually problems with the nervous system, neurological problems, rashes on the skin, lung ailments, right? Because Gemini is focused with the lungs. So the reason I'm saying Gemini is because Gemini is typically the third house ruler, right? And Mercury is the planetary ruler. And this is about communication and how you're communicating with your body, mind, and soul. Okay. And it also is associated with throat, the cervical or throat chakra as well. If you are not listening to what you need to do, if you're not listening to how you're communicating, if you're ignoring your own needs, okay, if you're not expanding the way that you think, you'll go into that sort of like transformation where things or ailments happen. So I'm giving you the opposites here. There are some people that are already experiencing some things going on here with their throat or their lungs or whatever. So understand how you're communicating, what you're pushing out, breathing out, what you are exhaling to the world. Okay? Is it going to change, on its own? It will change negatively if you don't listen. to where you're being pushed as well. So you don't want to continue to lose yourself. Okay. You don't want to continue to lose your own center. Okay. You want to continue to push forward. You want to continue to expand the way that you communicate, the way that you're seeing yourself, the things that you used to like to do. Where is it now? Where is it now? You may be also looking at talents and abilities that you've forgotten all about as well. You may visit, some of you may visit your old stomping grounds or hear from people, or people might pass or whatever from your childhood, right? So the way that you're communicating, put yourself into motion as well, getting yourself moving a little bit. The next 20 years will be a very, very deep inner transformation for everybody. Okay. But we've also got to look at things in a new way, expand the way that we're thinking with Pluto moving in the 3rd house. Understand how you communicate to yourself. Okay. Understand what is coming out of you as well. This is going to change dramatically as you start to work on who you are and evolve with this energy. That's what's really important. Self-realization. Understanding what you do and how you do it. Understanding what you put up with and why. Why do you put up with all the nonsense, for example? Okay, so it's beautiful. It's beautiful as you begin to expand and connect differently. Connect with the outer world, or you're channeling with the angels or whatever you're doing. It may become a lot easier over this time, right? Your spiritual expression may actually naturally grow also. So this is interesting too. Okay, so asking yourself why you do what you do, how you've come up with those ideas, looking perhaps at your past a little bit more, your childhood, your early days, your siblings, how you connect with them, whether you're cutting them off or you're going to continue with the nonsense, or maybe it improves a lot as well. Whatever it is for you, Pluto doesn't stop for anybody. So the transformation can be very, very massive, and on the outside, it can be so big, and just you taking this evolutionary leap, or it will crush you in many ways with your own BS, like the things that you're telling yourself all the time, right? And you'll be forced to see how that can work against you or for you as well. Okay. All right, so let's move through the 4th house. This one's really important too. So 4th house, everybody. Let's share this with you. 4th house, here we go. This is about security, real estate. Okay, and if we look, the opposite of the 4th house is the 10th house, okay? Right? And this talks about privacy, power, challenges, right? Bosses, dominance. It's usually an energy of how the 4th house, okay, how you in your 4th house as a kid, right, push yourself into a different reaction into your future. Anyway, so the 4th house, home and family, domestic affairs, creature comforts, the natural environment, community involvement, mining, agriculture, support, security, real estate, fixed assets. This is, to me, this is the mother energy here. This is the father energy. But in this it's got it in a different way. All right. 4th house, security. Okay. 4th house. You're evolving in how you see your reactions and emotions. Okay. You're looking at the inner and outer processes and understand your emotional securities. Okay. Mother is supposed to nurture. Father is supposed to protect. If you have Aquarius moving through your 4th house for the next 20 years, okay, then you could also be a parent at this time. Okay, you could be going through those evolutions and emotions and shifts and awarenesses. You could be creating home. You could be buying a home, real estate, right? You're focusing on reactions, how you react. Emotional securities, how you were treated as a child as well. Okay, what is your connection with your mother? It might be non-existent. It might have been narcissistic. It might have been codependent. Okay, it might have been abusive. It might have been very loving. You might have lost your mother at an early age, right? You might not understand how you are doing. Like, how are you doing? Are you doing a good job as a parent, right? For example, this is talking about the ending of a chapter in your life and a beginning of a refreshing way of showing up. Okay, you're doing things differently, showing up differently. Emotional upheavals can come at this time. And it comes from the inner self. Okay, you're being asked to reflect a lot of different emotional situations in your life. Reflect on them. Reflect on how you received things. Okay, how you were given things, what this meant for you. It's a forcing on how your life was put together. Okay, so if you had an extremely, okay, so let's just put it in 2 extremes. If you had an extremely abusive mother who did not care about your emotional, physical, spiritual, any kind of well-being, but thought of her own, and your job was to make sure that you kept the balance all of the time, right? And that you looked after her emotions so that it wouldn't cause an issue or it wouldn't cause an imbalance, right? Then you're the sort of person that constantly tries to make sure that everybody's happy all of the time. And it doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, then you feel like a failure because the person who was supposed to nurture you the most, okay, made you nurture them before you were even ready. So there's a resentment inside of you where you have to take care of everything all of the time, but then you volunteer to do that as well. So if that's the case for you in one way or another, okay, you're going to be really, really examining this and healing this and shifting this and moving away from this damaging energy vibration. Okay, for whatever reason that you were connected with that soul, your mother, okay, whatever reason that you were connected with her, okay, whatever reason, contract's done when you're born. Okay, that's it. You're brought in to this life. And that's it. That's all that's really required. The rest of it is your own journey, right? It's time to examine yourself compassionately. And if you had a very nurturing, loving, giving mother, and if this person was, extremely good to you and tried everything and tried to help you in so many ways, then you're going to be asked to stand on your feet a little more because you may have found that people in your life or partners, for example, haven't been the same as what her energy was. And so it's made you feel lost. Okay. So for the 4th house, it's a very big examination of your own emotional bullshit. Okay. The things that you carry around with you, the things that you expect, and whether it's too high of an expectation or too low of an expectation, you're going to be asked to look at it. You're going to be asked to look at how you react in family dynamics. Where your home is might be changing. Okay. Where your location is might be changing. Okay. Because this all talks about real estate too, right? So emotional cleansing and healing through the release of old emotional patterns and attitudes that have also built up from many different lifetimes as well. Certain people can also go through a lot of stages where they're in shock. Okay. If you're not ready for this transformation that's coming over the next 20 years and you're not being honest with yourself, you're not looking at things from a deeper level, not just on the surface, on a much deeper level for yourself, okay, you will struggle. That's what happens. This is what happens when people do not open up themselves to a spiritual pathway, because they're hanging on to all of their bad habits, hoping that they'll just be forgiven one day. And this is asking you to examine them, okay? It's an active reflection, actively. And also the communication that you're giving and presenting as well. There could be trust issues that come up here. So you're looking at the past through compassionate eyes, okay, and looking at the intent of each individual person, because sometimes women or mothers, for example, are not meaning to be negligent in any way. They just think that they don't know any better, or they were raised in a certain way and they're trying to give you a better life, so they might have spoiled you or let you get away with things. Doesn't mean that their intention was bad. It just means that that's where they were at on their journey, right? So you're learning to trust things. The physical sensations or problems that could come up for people that aren't examining themselves can be associated with the lymphatic system, stomach, the mammary glands, the eyes, mucus or water retention, emotion, right? Toxicity buildup in the mucus and constipation as well. So it really promotes looking at where your sensitivities are, what your past was, what your childhood was, and how you can metamorphosize yourself from recreating and learning from this past and recreating a better future, recreating things in a different way in your life, and processing things in a different way as well. The way that your body processes things might change. You're getting a grip of your digestive system, perhaps. You're understanding that you are not your past unless you want to be, right? You don't have to be a victim anymore. Could also be issues here with family, of course, and how you're seeing them might change because of this process. And that's really important too. A new chapter is beginning in your life if you let it. A new way of reacting will help you evolve very, very quickly and upgrade, okay? A new way of looking at yourself, looking at your skills, looking at your abilities, looking at your broadcast, looking at your pathway ahead, how you nurture yourself, how you nurture other people, investments that you're making, where you're going to live could become important here. Whether you're moving out of home or into a new home could also be important for you over the next 20 years. And how you've dealt with your upbringing, your mother specifically, your if you've never known your mother or you were adopted, this is also a special thing because you could hold a deep sense of rejection within you, right? Because of how you were treated and because of being pushed aside, how it feels to you. So there could be this deep mourning that you have within. So you're going to have to really process these things as well in many different ways. So if you do that, and if you process this, and if you look at this compassionately as though you were helping somebody else, with their situation, okay, then you're going to be able to really, really change, uplift, and bring new creative experiences into your life that will change you, okay? It will change you completely. All right, so let's take a look at the 5th house as we move around the zodiac. Okay, so I just had to put my heater on, so I'm sorry if you can hear that in the background, but it's really cold here. All right, 5th house, here we go. Let me share it. Okay. All right, so the 5th house is based on your creativity, new beginnings, innovation, birth, babies, children, risk-taking, speculation, hobbies, projects, ventures, recreation, fun and games, romance, passion, transformation, pioneering, and play. This is like I was born with Pluto and in my 5th house, right, of Libra, and also Uranus was here as well. So it created a shock between in my life with the way that my parents treated me. And things abruptly happened, and I was always moving and all this stuff, right? So there was a big sort of like bang here in my 5th house. Now, if Pluto is moving through your 5th house, it's in Aquarius, okay? It's not like me in Libra, but if you were born in the 70s, it might be Libra was your 5th house as well. Libra is where Pluto was. It may not have been the 5th house, but it could have been. All right. So let's have a look at this. This is really about new beginnings, creativity. Children come up here as well, okay? Let's stop the share for a second. Okay, here we are, back again. Right. So the theme of evolution for the 5th house is about you and your creative self. Aquarius sitting in your 5th house and Pluto moving into it is going to bring transformation with this in your life. You could also have changes with regards to your children. Children could be born. It could be a process of regeneration. It could be looking at yourself in a completely different context. You might become, or you might have the tendency to become a little bit self-centered because your energy may be really, really focused here with Pluto in your 5th house of Aquarius. You may be really focusing in your own way. You may be in your own way a little bit too, right? So your deep emotional surges and things that were of great importance to you may also change here too. There may be dramatic children that are born in this time, kids that are born in with lots of creative skills and abilities, but also born in where there is an energy of humanitarianism and giving and caring and nurturing and sharing and all of these things too. So there's a difference with this in your 5th house. This is also about your own bullshit, as I've said, through every single one, because the energy here and the impulses that you could have, right, that they could be very different to what you're normally experiencing because you were hiding before. So this may also bring out an energy within you of changing how you see yourself, how your personal vibe is. Your connection with friends might change as well. Your connections with the social world itself might go through a big, massive transformation. Okay, you may have issues with your dad. You might have issues with male members of the family too. I usually see the 5th house as quite a masculine sort of a house, but it's also about romance, It's building you up into how you're seeing your impulses, what you feel called to do, right? So you might be getting that calling to opening up something creative for yourself, artistically or with acting. Since Leo is normally ruling this spot of the 5th house, it's like the plays, the drama, the being on the stage, right? Musicians can come here because your creativity is opened in the 5th house, right? You may have had your creativity squashed in a past life, or you might have wanted to be, you know, musician or something in a past life, and it just, you ended up being broke and on the side of the road somewhere. So there's this fear inside of you that you're not going to make it. Okay. There are some people that are extremely talented and they never show anybody in this life. So if that's you, okay, and you're sitting there thinking, well, you know, I'm not as good as, you know, blah, 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 whoever else, right? Eric Clapton or something. I'm not as good as Eric Clapton, so I'm just not going to do it. You may be forced to actually, you're just going to be wanting to do your creative stuff more and more and more and more, right? So you may be forced to look at or examine your own insecurities with regards to your confidence. Why do you have confidence issues? You know, I have worked with supermodels and actors and actresses, right, which are hot in today's world and viewpoint, and they have people that cheat on them all the time. So it has nothing to do with how you look or how sexy you are or how good you are at something. It's got to do with your own inner self, and also remembering that people's behavior, that's their own self too. So, you know, if someone cheats on you, for example, it has nothing to do with you. It's a choice that they made, right? It's a choice that the other person made. And it has nothing to do with your looks either. It's just how they are, how sneaky or devious somebody is, right? So you're going to be forced to look at the reasons why you give yourself excuses, to not open up your creative side of things, to not look at yourself in that deeper way. Where your resistance is, where your fears also lie as well. Physical problems that could manifest if you're not listening, okay, to your own creative impulses and urges, and you're doubting yourself and you're going backwards. Again, because this is connected traditionally with Leo. Leo rules the heart and the spine, so circulation could be an issue. Stress, boils, abscesses, tumors, problems associated with the third eye or your eyes in general. Okay. So blood flow, your strength, your vitality, you'll have like energy level fluctuations, right? Because you're ignoring yourself again and again and again. So if you don't do that, okay, sorry, everybody. If you don't do that to yourself, if you stop looking at yourself in comparison to other people, if you allow Pluto to push through your 5th house of creative energy and impulses, right? And exploration and new people, okay? And if you can really, really open yourself up to your own BS, as I've said through this whole thing, okay? And you're changing what your needs are. You're changing where your processes are taking you, right? And you're going to just evolve beautifully, creatively. You'll evolve in your own self with how you feel about your body, your mind, your soul. Your partnerships might go through changes because of your newfound confidence in yourself. You may completely change your career, right? Trajectory, because you're no longer seeing yourself from this lower position. You also might have a connection, like if you have children or you have grown children, then the way that you're trying to mold them or share with them might also go through that big, massive change, right? Because you'll see where you're trying to make them do something or mold them in a way that you feel is correct, instead of allowing them to individualize themselves a little bit, right? You don't want them, I mean, obviously I'm old school, so if my kids are going to swear at me, that is one of the biggest mistakes they're going to make, right? So having respect for your elders, standing up on a bus or a train or public, thing, my sons will stand straight up and let somebody else who's older than them sit down. You don't even have to think about it. If my kids are at your house, they're going to ask you if you need help with anything before they go or do something else. Just respect, okay? That should be instilled. But other than that, creatively, what they want to present themselves, what sort of, if they're homosexual or whatever they are, who cares? But if they have those values, that's what's really mattering here, right? So your way or your viewpoint or your life decisions may change greatly. You might be more relaxant, or you might become stricter, depending on which way you've been, right? But children begin to manifest themselves in a new way when their parents are actually working on themselves, right? So if you're not confident and you're worrying about your kids and you're worrying about your life and you're worrying about your bills and you're worrying about your looks and you're worrying about your body and you're worried and worried and worried and worried and worried, don't think that that's ignored by your kids. They become unsettled. They've got ADHD. They've got one problem after the other. And then you're highly stressed about all the problems that your kids have got, right? So if you're centered and you're straightforward and you're moving ahead, your kids settle. Okay. Now you may go through different challenges with regards to your kids and their preferences or whatever, but you'll also be going through the most change within yourself. This could also be grandkids, it could be stepkids, right? Which are kids anyway. Wherever it is, you might have this energy of children around you. You might be a teacher. You might be teaching children, and you want to give them boundaries, and you want to give them a good constitution, and you want to give them a good education, right? So but the way that you're focusing yourself also needs to change. Okay. So yeah. In this as well, there can be an evolutionary impulse with changes in relationships. This can happen in any of the houses. Okay, it doesn't have to be just in the 7th house either, or in the 1st house. But in any of the houses, because you're going through these big, massive changes, so too can your relationships with those who you love, or those really who are closest to you as well. Again, be aware to take on your creative impulses and to expand on these. If you like to color like me, that's why I started doing mandalas, because I loved coloring. It wasn't so much about making the circles and doing all the shapes and everything. It was the coloring that drew me into then being able to expand my skill from past lives of being an artist of some kind, right? So we expand what we already know within us. And so we have this deeper look at ourselves, right? We have a deeper look at ourselves. So you're going through this transformation. So a reformulation of your purpose in life, reformulation of your creative impulses, how you feel about yourself in comparison to others. This is going to change a lot. And this process also will require elimination of any preconceived ideas that you've had, things that are old, things that no longer work well for you. And if you don't allow these things to develop, you're going to feel very, very underwhelmed and flat and like nothing's happening for you. okay, until you just start taking up these creative impulses, starting to look after yourself, getting rid of your own bullshit, and learning to move past the things of your past and harness those skills, nurture those skills, reconnect with who you are, reconnect with all that you can be, start giving yourself a bigger perspective of life itself and what life can offer you if you grab it with both hands, right? You don't know if you don't try. Okay, there we go. So now we're going to move to Pluto through the 6th house. Okay, let's move into the 6th house. Okay, this is a spiritual house. This is a health house. This is compassion, empathy, devotion, healers, psychics, mystics, work, service, sacrifice. Okay, saints and sinners, forgiveness, and your pets can come up in the 6th house too. This is mostly connected with Virgo, work and service and health. It is also opposite the 12th house of hidden problems, hidden enemies, okay, things that are inside, things that are, see, health and remedies connected right here as well, work, service, okay, health, remedies. So the 6th house for you, if Pluto is moving and transiting through your 6th house, you are going to be called upon to really re-examine your own bullshit with regards to your health and healing, and the things that you're doing that has caused a problem, if there is one, the things that you've done that has caused a problem, okay, in your health. You're going to have to examine these things and get rid of them as well. So this evolutionary process is personal improvement in multiple ways, ways that have been affecting your health or are now affecting your health. Maybe you are going through a health crisis, and only through your transformation, only through your healing, are you going to be able to get through to others in your life as well. Okay, so one common mistake is that people are trying to prove themselves all the time, or prove what they're doing to other people, or prove what they're doing to their families, or trying to make people understand their belief systems, and trying to make people understand, meditate, or do the work, right? But everybody has their own pathway, and everybody has their own way of reflecting on things and doing things. Therefore, us trying to make people do things in a certain way because it's worked for us won't work. You have to be the proof of what you're talking about. You have to be the living, walking proof of it without having to, make everybody else follow exactly what you do, right? You're just doing it. You're just doing it. There's no, hey, stop, everybody stop and listen to me, okay? Don't do as I'm doing, but do as I say. See how that doesn't make any sense, right? Instead, if someone came to me and said, how do you look like this? How do you live your life? How do you meditate? Then I'm like, okay, this is what I do, right? This is how I do it. But if I just go up to somebody who is definitely not involved in anything spiritual, and I said, hey, you look like crap. How about you do this? This is what I do. How about you listen? This is what I'm basically saying. Why do you look like crap? You're obviously not doing the right thing. See, that doesn't come across very well, does it? Right? And I would never do that anyways. It's kind of weird for me saying it, but that's the same thing parents do to their kids. Hey, look, I'm doing this. Why don't you do it as well? Okay, so we can be doing it together. Or why don't, you understand my belief system here? Don't push this on anybody. This is what the process is for you in the 6th house. You must live by your words. and do the shit that you know you need to do in order to have that healthy existence. If you are not happy where you are, okay, you are going to suffer until you do something about it. Okay. If you have a health problem and you don't examine every reason why you have that health problem emotionally, okay, and you're not looking at those deeper things, or you're not working with someone to help you through and track through those deeper things, and you think that you can still heal in the same environment that made you sick, then you are going to not improve, okay, because you're not being honest with yourself. The sixth house is extremely important to the inner self as well as it is to the outer self. It's really important with your health. It's important with how you see healing, how you see meditation, your spiritual side, of course, how you connect with animals too. Okay, and an animal knows someone who's real and someone who isn't straight away and can tell. Unfortunately, animals will still try to give that unconditional love, even if they know they're coming into a household where they're going to get beaten, right? So the certain attitudes that you may have had towards yourself, okay, the attitudes that you've had about healing, okay, you might have a big ailment going on with you, okay, and you may have this thing and you think to yourself, I'm doing the work, I'm asking for the help, I'm surrendering, I'm allowing this healing to happen, but you're still owning the problem in your body. You're still in the same environment that got you sick. You're still trying to make people understand your belief system. You're still trying to settle in, or you're withdrawing because everyone's fighting, or you're not happy where you're at and you don't say anything because you think you'll be okay because you're managing yourself. Okay, you are kidding yourself, and you will go through massive transformations with regards to your health and your services and how you're presenting because you're ignoring. If you don't ignore and you look at things deeper and you start understanding, I've got to have boundaries, I've got to set myself up correctly, I've got to do the work, but also actually do it. So I can't say that I'm doing the work and listen to the meditations or whatever I'm doing, but then I'm still here thinking that I'm doing it so I can handle it. You've got to stop looking at areas that you're handling things, because you're not, especially if you're going through something physical. If you're going through something physical, you're not handling your work, your co-workers, okay, your health. You're not handling it. Okay, you're not handling the attitudes of other people. Okay, you're taking it on, you're sucking it up, and that's the whole reason you became unwell or unadjusted in the first place. So you have heard and felt certain ways about things within yourself, and you may have also, as Pluto moves through here, deep limitations about your inadequacies because of how you've been treated in the past, right? Because of how family members treat you, because of how you've always had some kind of problem come up in your health, perhaps, and you feel like you're always unwell and you feel like nobody cares about that, right? Or you haven't had anything extreme happen, but you've had things happen at work, or you've had things happen with your community, you've had things happen socially, right? Maybe for some of you, the work environment is becoming increasingly difficult, but again, you're saying, I can handle it, I'll just keep my mouth shut. I can handle it, I'll just work extra shifts. See, it's not going to work for you anymore. You will succumb to problems if you don't have them already. And they won't go anywhere by you pretending that you can't see them because your head's in the sand, or that you can just keep your mouth shut, or you will just still believe the way that you believe, but you're in a hostile environment all of the time. So this can also come up in situations in your life where you're realizing that your love or your partnership is not connected with you anymore. It's you're just not on the same page. Okay, you may have already gone through this before Pluto has arrived here in Aquarius. You might have gone through the dynamic change already. Okay, as Pluto was in Capricorn, if you look at where Capricorn was for you, okay, it's going to show you what you've been going through since 2008. Now you're finding yourself here. Okay, so you can experience difficulties with confrontations with other people who are critical towards you. Kids can be critical and cruel and nasty because it's all your fault, whatever's happened to them. It's all still your fault, even if they're grown adults, right? And it's because you've let that happen as well. And you have to be honest with yourself. You know you have. You know you've let them get away with that behavior instead of because of fear of losing them, instead of standing up for yourself and saying, no more. You don't get to talk to me like that. Stop. This is how it is, right? Blah, blah, blah. So, you may feel these desires to change the nature of your work and your environment, but then you may feel powerless to change it because you fear being rejected. You have to get out of that. And when you don't really hold any outcomes to anyone else's viewpoint of you, again, when you can hold your own and you don't need to make everybody come along with you on the journey, right? When you can understand yourself on these deeper levels, even if other people don't understand themselves, right? If you can do all of this and you can move away from toxic behavior, not stay in it thinking that you can just keep quiet and, you know, you'll be fine. You have to move ahead or bigger things will happen with you. Reflect upon the nature of the external criticism that you get around you. Stop taking it personally by not making it personal. Okay? So what I mean by that is not everybody is going to believe the way that you do. That doesn't mean that they're rejecting you. They're just rejecting what your beliefs are. Their problem. It's their life. If someone is being toxic and you think that you can handle it, think again. Your body is going to tell you differently. Your life is going to show you differently. Okay, it's going to change. So you can experience a lot of these confrontations as well. Your nutritional habits, okay, what you're eating, putting into your mouth, how you're taking care of yourself, whether you get massages or have hot baths or, you know, all of these things are going to be, you're going to be improving your connection with yourself. So physical problems that can occur when you're not taking care of yourselves can be genetic ailments, okay? Things that maybe there could be an insulin thing, enzymes, intestines, colon, liver, spine, nervous system, hearing problems can happen when you're just ignoring all of this stuff, right? The process represents a time of personal improvement with what you will put up with and what you will not put up with, okay? What are you going to put up with? What are you going to allow? And to be okay with your viewpoint without needing anybody to understand it as well. You don't need anybody to believe the way that you believe. Unfortunately, everybody has their own quirks, right? We do what we want to do. But you must wholeheartedly make decisions. Move away from toxic environments. Say no when you have to. Have strong boundaries without fear of losing everybody all of the time. Okay? And understand that by having those stronger boundaries, you're happier. Thereby, others are happier with you as well. Okay. Old mental attitudes and old situations and old ways of relating to people won't work. But you'll need to examine it to see where you can make adjustments as well. Okay. I hope that makes sense, because health and services are going to be very much affected if Pluto is moving in Aquarius in your 6th house. Don't ignore these things that you do. Change it. And it's just as simple as making the decision to do so, and then start acting on those decisions as well. If you don't have anyone to help guide you through these things, look, don't waste your time everywhere else. Talk, okay? Come forward, and you can be helped with all of this as well. Okay, 7th house. This is going to be interesting. 7th house is connected with relationships, long-term relationships as well. It is also your opposite of your 1st house. You see how it sits? Okay. So it could be about alternatives, confrontations, projections, freedom, equality, brotherhood, inventions, discoveries, technologies, partnerships, teamworks, coexistence, change, awakening, changing how, if you're reflecting on the 1st house, okay, and changing how you see yourself and your identity, then your relationships are naturally going to change as well. So let's get into the 7th house. I had to sneeze real quick. All right. So if Pluto moves into this, it reflects your need to transform, to change, to evolve. Attitudes, values, relationships, long-term goals. Okay. There are conditions that are connected here in the 7th house with Aquarius and Pluto in the 7th house. The transformation of where you felt that you would be going, what you felt that you would be doing, and maybe who you felt that you'd be doing it with will change and shift over the next 20 years. For some of you, there is a connection that's much, much, much deeper with someone that you're in a relationship with, in a partnership with, a marriage, whatever. Whatever that connection is, if both of you are on the page of transformation, and if both of you are willing to lift up into these next levels of evolution, if both of you are willing to examine yourself and your habits, etc., then it just becomes like a powerful, growing energy. But at the same time, if friendships or connections with people that you've known for a really long time and you're not moving in the same direction anymore, then it will naturally expel, right? Sometimes there will be a desire to grow in a very, very intense way with Pluto sitting in your 7th house. The energy also can be connected with how you've been experiencing your own growth, as I said. There could also be a fulfilling of resolving issues so that karma with others is also eliminated. So for some of you, you might have been staying in a relationship with someone because it was karmic. It was meant at the time. It might have been a long time ago or whatever. And you were meant to be together to reconnect, to heal something. And maybe that healing process finishes as you're going through this. So there's a lot of growth and stimulation. There can also be a shift in your partnership, of course. And there could also be a change that causes you to be able to step out and be more of who you really are. The 7th house is also you're encouraging the needs of your partner, or you're encouraging the needs of your long-term goals. Okay, some of you have business partnerships, right, that are big, right, as well. And you're encouraging this, but you're also looking at your role here, your role and your relationship to other people, right? You're looking at where you stand in multiple situations in your life. So therefore, you really evolve with your power and your presence. Unfortunately, for some people with Pluto moving through the 7th house, there can be losses of partners. There can be losses of people that are in close relationships, right? There could be endings here. But it's more than likely that the endings or people passing and situations like that happen more in the 8th house, okay, than it does so in the 7th house. Although your dynamic and your relationship with people can actually change. All right, so if something cannot be redefined or something can't grow, you're either growing together or you're growing apart as well, right? So it's also talking about attractions here, because we have it in the 7th house. The way that you might have been attracted to somebody when you were young is completely different, isn't it? When you're older. And I would say the teen years, and then the 20s, and then the 30s and 40s, and right, so on. You change how you're viewing somebody. Like if we were like 15 and there was a 60-year-old person, we're going to think that they're really old, and we don't see anything remotely attractive about someone really, really old. I don't think. I mean, there are some cuckoo people and there's some people who have different tastes, whatever. But no. But when we're 60 and the other person's 60, it's a completely different thing, right? It's a completely different look at the other person. But if you haven't resolved how you felt about people and places and situations and relationships, how you felt about them, then they're just going to keep being in your face. For example, how many people do you know that constantly talk about their ex, right? Just constantly going on about it. Even if they're in a relationship now, they keep on trying to hurt this person, or they keep on trying to bring it up, or your mother this, or your dad this, or whatever, right? It keeps on going on because they haven't resolved anything with that situation. And unfortunately, a lot of the times there is a power play, right, happening. And unfortunately, the way in which a parent is really affects the kids and their relationship with you, their relationship, because of the feelings that they have about the other parent or whatever. Maybe they were raised by the other parent. So, if there's immaturity in the raising of the child, then there's going to be this alienation that occurs, right? Again, if that happens, that's part of the child's process. It's part of their learning, a part of their soul evolution process, right? You're only responsible for your part of it. But if someone is continually going on about their ex or whatever, there's still some kind of connection there, and it needs to break off, or whatever, right? Or the current situation won't be able to expand and grow. Okay. So if the existing relationship is defined by the past relationships and what the expectations have been from the past, then the existing relationship won't be able to grow either, right? It'll just keep on regurgitating backwards to someone treating you badly because that's what they expect, right? And at the same time, sorry, nose is itching. At the same time, okay, that's what might be something that you do. You expect people to treat you in the same way that you've always been treated. And so then you might push someone to, I don't know, some kind of thing so that they will show you. And then you'll go, there it is. I knew that you were like that, when they've been pushed to that point. So it's really going to give you a reflection of your past relationships and how this affects your current relationships if you hadn't already dealt with this. There could be new attractions that come up over the next 20 years as well. It's really possible to have a very powerful and strong relationship with your partner if you've gone through all of the work of the past, and then you're set, right? But it will also be a physical problem that can happen when you're not evolving, when you're not lifting yourself into those new levels of awareness. If you are still with someone who's toxic, or you're still in that doubtful mindset, or you're still angry within yourself for some reason, right? Then your physical problems that could arrive will be lower back, lymphatic problems, kidney problems, spine, toxicity in the blood, intense headaches, urinary tracts. You could go deaf, right? Congestion in the liver, problems related to the heart chakra as well. So it's because of resistance, right? So some people are in a really bad marriage, for example. It's been going on forever, and they think, well, I've been in here this long, I might as well just hang it out. I might as well just wait it out, and it's literally killing you, right? It's killing you to live there. A toxic thing. You're not listening. You're just existing. What punishment are you trying to give yourself here? And sometimes what happens just before Pluto hits into the 7th house is that some people will just go, nope, enough's enough. And they're ready for that next chapter of their life to begin. So this is very, very focused on relationships, what you're putting up with. And if you're in a great relationships, that it grows and intensifies as you shift and you grow, and you're looking at your past relationships, you're healing those things over. You're letting all of that past go behind you. You're not allowing it to define your future. You're not treating someone who's in your current situation. You're not treating them as though they are someone from your past. Everyone deserves that clean slate, right? So if you don't do that, and you still have hang-ups with your issues from before, or you still have physical problems and they're in those places that I'm talking about, then you need to really examine your relationships and why they're still hanging around in your current energy. Okay. And if you haven't had relationships before, this can also talk about long-term partnerships, long-term friendships. Do you put up with someone just because you've known them forever? Do you put up with their BS, things that just don't wash with you anymore, right? It's all, everybody's going through their own self-examination in one way or another. Where this house is for you is probably going to be the biggest impacted, and it will also be probably a little bit of the house before and a little bit of the house after it. So it's really good to listen to all of this. This is what I'm told as well. Okay, so when you look at your anger, when you look at things that you haven't let go of, when you look at why you've been in relationships, where you were, what age, how it happened, what you were dealing with at the time, when you look at all of those things with compassion, again, you will also have the most growth. If you're still holding on to grudges and anger, then you will be challenged, right? It's time to give it up so that you can move ahead into the right partnership if you're not in it, or to encourage a growth in a current situation, even a growth in a business partnership if you do this work. Okay, now where Pluto likes to be is in the 8th house, where it's connected with. So let's take a look at the 8th house. All right. 8th house, remember, it's opposite the 2nd house, how they work together. Okay, so your resources in the 2nd house, and in the 8th house, inheritances and shared resources, right? Life and death, inheritance, authority, management, mortgages, stocks, bonds, insurances, taxes, contracts, right? Other people's money, rules and regulations, things that you're doing with within your partnership. right? So for example, Pluto was in Capricorn from 2008 till now, 2024, right? What was your where was Capricorn for you? Because Capricorn was in my 8th house. So we got a mortgage, my dad died. Lots of people lost a lot of people here. So joint finances, doing things with my husband, all that sort of stuff. See how this all, made sense? Permanence, being in a permanent place finally, after traveling around and doing my thing, right? So 8th house is going to be a big one for you, okay? If Pluto's moving through your 8th house, the theme is where you will need to confront ideas of dynamics within yourself that are stagnant, non-growth areas, things you're ignoring, right? Internally, these areas or dynamics can be emotional, intellectual, physical, or spiritual in nature. Your career, your relationships, your family, money, inheritances, possessions, how the life has been structured and defined, and so on, right? So there can be a potential for cataclysmic events. This is the area of death, rebirth, okay? It is the area of inheritances and shared money. So over the next 20 years, which is a long period of time, could be the time when you do have those death moments, people in your life that could pass, right? It's just a part of life. And I mean, I had so much of it in the 20 years that Pluto was in Capricorn, right? So, and that was my 8th house, right? So now if you're looking at this and Aquarius is your 8th house, this is where you're transforming. So that means that you had Capricorn in your 7th. So there'll be messages too here. This will increase a lot of your connection with mediumship in some way as well. When we lose people, this is what ends up happening to us too. If you resist the necessity to look at things, the choices that you're making during these processes are really important, right? If you're resisting the choices that you have to make within yourself, the way in which you look at life, the way in which you look at your structures, right? The way in which you've invested in yourself or not, where you've ignored things that need healing, or whether you've taken it on board and you've changed your whole life with it, right? This is the time of new emotional responses, ideas, directional shifts in your life, where you're going to be, where you're going to end up, permanence. Okay, so it's focusing in on areas of your life that are like, you might go to live somewhere and that's your home. That's it. You find it, right? Higher knowledge can also come in here too, because of Scorpio being connected traditionally with Pluto and traditionally sort of sitting over the 8th house, right? That's the 8th house position is Scorpio usually. You have Aquarius here. It'd be good for you to also look where Scorpio is on your chart, okay, as well. Others may create confrontations and attempt to hold you back because of a threat to their own security. They may not want you to progress. They may not want you to heal, right? Maybe people are used to you being in a certain way. So you're looking at things that are limiting your growth, let's say, limiting your needs, right? People who are sharing with you, but maybe sharing with you in a overly emotional, dramatic, or even violent way, right? You're going to be forced to look at these things to see what you feel is right for you or not. You need to really notice the necessity for changes in viewpoints or changes within yourself, with how you see life and death, how you see healing, how you see your pathway, how you see yourself, right? This is always the the values, the ideas, the belief systems that you have will always be challenged through each of the areas, but this is going to be more permanent, like far-reaching consequences that you will have from making these changes. For example, in 2009, I went from doing my spiritual work behind the scenes where no one could see it unless you called me for a party or a reading at some point, right? To come and do the readings for the group, or to be at a fair, or to be at one of them shows, right? That's where you would find me, not giving it in public like this and being the center of the whole thing and running a business related to my beliefs, right? And spiritualism and all this sort of stuff. So with this being in my 8th house of regeneration, okay, and life and death and ups and downs and expansion, etc., right? I went from keeping something in the shadows to exposing something out into the public for ridicule, for hate, for all of those things that I was terrified of doing it before, and stepping out into it, right? So I had to change my values, my belief systems. I had to change it all. I had to believe wholeheartedly what I was doing, what I was saying, and how I believed, and sharing my writings with you all, and developing and channeling and all of this. So if I hadn't have had such a dramatic change in relationships before that, with my brother dying in the year 2000, okay, I wouldn't have opened up my connection with the other side of the veil more completely, more confidently, more connectedly, right? And I may not have opened up myself to this work, and therefore you'd never know me, right? But so as you in any area in your life that is going to need regeneration, it's going to need an overhaul, something that's going to need care from you, something that's going to push your boundaries, something that's going to change the way that you see yourself, something that's going to lift you into an uncomfortable position and rock it, okay? Something that you never thought that you would be capable of doing can also come out with this, okay? With Pluto being in your 8th house, something that's hidden can be seen. Something that's hidden can be seen. Just like I explained to you what happened for me when Pluto was in my 8th house. Now, not that I was really bothered about that at the time, but obviously I kicked into gear and I decided that I could do this, all right? And I could do this. And so you're deciding that you can do this, whatever it is for you. And you can regenerate, you can change, you can shift, and you'll have the push of Pluto to help you to do it. So, all right, so what else can happen physically, as I told you? Death of the old or outmoded problems can happen. Physical problems can happen here. Pancreas, colon, intestine, genetic disorders, mutation of cells that can lead to cancer if you're not listening, or imbalance in the white and red blood cells as well. There can be psychological, physiological, and neurological disorders that emerge because of the Kundalini pushing as well. And if the energy is not properly channeled, okay? Spinal problems, as well as temporarily, some people have temporary paralysis, arms and leg problems, out-of-body experiences, you're not grounding yourself, right? And problems associated with the coccyx and the navel chakra. So this promotes a death of the old, outdated, outmoded patterns where you hide, where you ignore, where you don't pursue your dreams and your goals and your visions because of everybody else's viewpoint of you. That the accumulation of positive karma and negative karma can hit you. So you've got to balance things. You've got to be working on yourself. You've got to be lifting higher and higher and higher. not putting up with ridiculous circumstances and thinking that I'll just put up with it. I'm just going to put up with it. I'm just going to put up with it. No. So it's a phoenix type of energy out of the ashes, right? Rising up out of the ashes sort of thing, if you want it to be. Okay. You can explore parts of yourself that you may not show others as well, right? So the shadow self gets a little bit of a shine here. For me, doing the spiritual stuff was just, it was not something that was allowed to be public. It was something that I was shamed for. It was something that I was made to feel weird for. So here, making it even bigger was a bold move, right? But what changed was that I no longer cared about people's uncomfortableness with something or with somebody expressing what they know, right? I no longer felt uncomfortable or less than. I actually felt more empowered and actually better than, like in a sense where I'm like, well, I actually know stuff here. Why am I hiding it? I actually know a lot. Here, I'm going to showcase it, right? So you see how that worked? The same thing can come to you. What's hidden can come to light. Scorpio is also connected with healing, but it can also connect with minding your own business, being sure that you're not meddling into someone else's energy without their permission either. A Scorpio can think that they know a lot because they're presuming a lot as well. And yes, I'm talking about Pluto moving through the 8th house, but it is connected with Scorpio too. So you always have to look at that. Okay, so just like I'm mentioning all of the other houses as well and what's normally sitting there, you need to just cross-reference with things in your life too for the most benefit for you. Okay, so physical, spiritual behavior. What's hidden, what comes to light, the phoenix rising from the ashes, inheritances, money coming to you, money owed to you, situations where people are passing, unfortunately, over the next 20 years, right? Could possibly happen. It's like in that cycle when it does, okay? All right, so let's move into the 9th house. I know this is getting a long video as well. So the 9th house, okay. All right, so let's move into this. So this is talking about, this is the house that I'm moving into now. Aquarius sitting in the 9th house. It's usually Sagittarius, or the traditional spot. So this is about wisdom, higher education. If we remember, the 3rd house being the opposite of this was about lower education. So things that we were learning at school, this might be connected more with college, university, right? Global communications, publishing, marketing, because it's expansion, it's getting things out. Long distance travel could also happen here in the 9th. Religion, philosophy, foreign affairs, massive media, right? Exploration, comedy or sense of humor is here. Your philosophies are here. Your spiritual energy, religion, spirituality, trade, like what you do as a trade rather than career, which is coming up. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Okay, so what Pluto in the 9th house is doing for you is showing an exploration, okay, of a growth that you've already done. So things that you've already done, you've already worked on, you're already open up to, and you're confronting limitations with your existing philosophies. So for example, how you might have felt about religion, okay, is different now. Okay, so how you felt about it then, or maybe how you felt about it growing up, it changes. How you felt spiritually changes as well. You might feel that you were too limited in your spiritual beliefs, right? You might have a new wave of information that comes in because you're a natural channel and all of that sort of stuff. You may have a whole lot of new information that comes in that shows you a different alternative or a way in your thinking, which is just needing that little bit of a shift as well. It's very positive to have this happening here in the 9th house. You've gone through a lot of hard stuff. You've gone through the health stuff. You've gone through the relationship stuff. You've gone through the life and death stuff. You've gone through all of those things. And now you're moving into this future orientated position where you're looking at really what lasting energy you have. What your goals are, your ideas are, your directions may have changed in the last 5 years as well. Lots of intuitive guidance coming in. Okay, you're being guided, as I said, in a different way also. And these new ideas that are coming through are opening up new ways of teaching, of learning, of growing, of living, right? It's opening all of these things in. So where you have had an intuitive faculty, it can explode. Some people may turn this off and they may go backwards, and hopefully that's not the case, but some people may go backwards into an old belief system and amplify this a little bit more as well. Confrontations with other people, it tends to be more positive. Again, you've already been through it. It's also sort of like you don't mind so much getting a little bit of negative flack because you just really don't, it doesn't define you because you've done all of the work as well. So as a result of this, your principles expand upon, your principles are transformed, the way that you're doing things is deeper. There may be increased knowledge and information that you can't help but share. Okay, does this sound like me? Because this is what's going on. You may feel that you want to be free of obligations or things that the way that you were grinding yourself into a certain way and changing it. You also might look at yourself and you're saying, I'm just not putting up with any nonsense anymore. People are going to come, people are going to go. I'm not holding on to the outcomes anymore, right? And one thing as well, I'm always going to use myself as an example. As part of the evolutionary process, part of getting to know myself and growing spiritually and all of these things, it's about looking at your flaws, right? And the flaws might be a good thing. Like you may really want someone to get it. And you're really trying to help someone get from the start of their journey to the end of their journey, and you're trying to help them along the way. However, they're not willing to do the work. And it's like, you start thinking that it's part of you that has let them down, but it's really up to each individual, how they're evolving, what decisions they make. And you no longer feel the need to carry someone to the end. You lead the way. If they drink the water, that's fine. If not, it's fine as well. There's no longer any kind of stress surrounding an outcome that you really want to have for somebody, but it's really up to them to see that for themselves, right? So if you are seeing any kinds of limitations in your life, they're going to be presented to you. Like if there's something that you're not seeing, or if there's something that you're still doing as an old habit, it will keep on coming up into your face until you do something to change this around. Again, it's fairly positive though, because we're lifting up into these upper areas of the chart, and you're into this more philosophical kind of spiritual energy anyway, right? So if you think that what you were doing before was getting you somewhere, it's really going to get even further in the next 20 years as well. So this also connects with pre-existing ideas and principles, things that you've always kept, true to. You may also change some things around. You may change some ways of doing things, some ways of connecting with your angels and guides and loved ones and religion. You may look at religion differently if you are religious. You may open yourself up to even more experiences if you're spiritual. And you're also going to encounter things in a much more productive way and pleasant way, because in the past it may have been very, very difficult, like everything was a mountain. All right, you know, you're climbing up all of these mountains all of the time. Well, now you might find yourself in the valley where it's easier to walk, right? You're also looking at your reactions, your mannerisms with other people as well. You're looking at how you're impacted by other people, how you can take things on, and where you're doing that for your life as well. The physical problems that can manifest to people who are not dealing with this energy correctly. They can have pancreatic problems, thyroid issues, pituitary gland, liver, sciatic nerve, and the sacral chakra can be affected if you're not evolving spiritually, if you're not evolving with how you see things, if you're not listening to those higher ideals and taking on those different ways of doing things and expanding upon this. If you are feeling restless within yourself, you will feel dissatisfied with things because you know there's something else, right? You're feeling this restlessness. So you may travel to different locations until you find where you feel settled. You may just be able to travel because you have finally the financial freedom to do so. But you will find that you resist, or you have resistance still, if you are not allowing the expansion of the consciousness or the subconsciousness, or maybe looking at something in a completely different way than you might have looked at something before. So you want to be able to expand this in yourself in so many different ways, right? You really want to be able to expand it and allow for those new opportunities to come in, a tweaking of your abilities, a way of looking at things in a different, completely different way, staying positive and in a very good and strong mindset, trusting in your intuition, okay, but also allowing things to develop, allowing things to change, allowing things to shift, right, to open up. And when you can do this and you're not resisting, it's just going to go into another level, which is fantastic, okay? So the bullshit of the 9th house is that you resist the necessary changes because you might think you know it all already, okay? So don't resist those necessary changes that will come up, and don't overthink or overanalyze anything. Just allow more of a flow to occur in your life as well. Now, remember, this can also reflect onto the 3rd house of siblings and communication. So you may communicate differently, and your siblings or family members may go through a time of coming closer together with you or further apart. Whichever it is, you will be okay with, if you want to think about it that way. Okay. You need to make the required changes within yourself, okay, as well. You make those required changes and you allow for them to happen within yourself, and then other people will follow your lead, follow your example, because you're doing it, right? You've got to try things out. And, you know, I always say that I have to know everything about everything before I can teach about it, right? So, you know, this is the same thing for you. Know what you're talking about and believe in what you're talking about. Live in what you're talking about, and, you know, be kind to yourself in the process. And you've got the secret. Okay, you've got the secret to everything, secret to your evolutionary process, okay, as you move ahead. Really, really trust your intuition, as opportunities for growth are manifested in ways that you just can't think about right now, okay? So it's really, really positive as it moves through, in many ways, through the 9th house, but you'll definitely be a different person no matter what house it is, from the time Pluto starts moving in there till the next 20 years, right? We're going to go through a lot together as well. All right, so we're going to move on to the 10th house. Okay, so the 10th house, let's take a look here. This is an interesting one. Okay. 10th house, right. Leadership, peak experiences, goals and achievements, professional image, Kundalini energy, executive, boss energy, challenge or crisis energy, competition, occultism. So you're obviously your spiritual side, privacy and power. And it is opposite the fourth house. So if we look at the fourth house of how you connected at home, okay, your reactions as a child need to change as you move into your leadership. So if your career is not working for you, you're reacting like a child somewhere with regards to how you see yourself, how you see your abilities, or if you think you can't do it because you're too old now, or whatever it is, you're giving yourself an excuse. If you can work with that a little bit, you can open some things because you are going to transform in these areas, in this career section, and which gives you a lot of different challenges and things, right, as well. So, okay, 10th house, career. So there's a theme here of the old process, like I said, of doing things or how you reacted as a child, which also might be how you reacted to someone else's leadership, okay, is also how you gain independence with your own leadership here. What things are different? What do you like about a strong leader? You know, do you like someone to be tough on you but fair, or do you like somebody who is understanding of you, or do you like an easy boss? Whatever sort of individual aspect that you see as in someone in authority and leadership, you may be challenged with this belief system as it pertains to you and your career and where you're going. So a self-reflection process looks at internal dynamics, okay, that you have going on within. And through this self-reflection, through this self-knowledge, okay, it will cause you to look at why you've put your life in the structure that you have. If you were in management and then you left management, what was going on with you in your life that caused you to pull away from it? If you're not in management, but you want to be in management, what is stopping you from moving into it? The same, excuse me, the same thing has to do with our spiritual patterns in our life as well. So there is a need for you to also look at the or accept and acknowledge, okay, in your life, what the things are that you feel need healing. Accept and acknowledge the parts of you that were broken as well. The parts of you that were connected with your father, with the fourth house being more the mother. And this is how I see it. And the 10th house being more authority, or what you see as authority. You might see God as your authority, but most of us see God in the same way that we see our father. So if our father was absent, unkind, or rejecting us or left us alone in some way, that's how we see God too. Like we're always going to get in trouble, right? All this kind of stuff. So you're accepting and acknowledging also responsibility for your own actions. You may be a father as well. And so you're accepting responsibility for your actions, but you're not accepting responsibility for everyone else's actions. Because a true leader doesn't have to do this. A true leader is in conjunction or in alignment with their own actions and reactions, right? And then you lead in that way. Psychological problems can come during this time with weariness and tiredness, and a personal sensation of needing something meaningful in life. Many other lives have been structured upon the old energy, the things that you've been working with previously. So Capricorn for you was running through your ninth house. So you were working on your spirituality. You probably had the biggest breakthroughs with the way that you see it and the way that you see yourself because of that. Situations in your life that changed because of your viewpoints, situations that healed because of the changes within you. So the same thing is being guided in the 10th house, where you're seeing the changes in yourself reflected in your ability to lead, okay? And reflected in your the way in which you see leadership and the way that you see authority, okay? The 10th house correlate to our need to establish and integrate our own authority within the context of society as well. So being able to have a very, very strong boundaries, not take the blame for everything, not always reacting to other people, not always taking everything personally, not always feeling like the whole world is against you. Instead, having some kind of boundary in place where whatever someone does is their issue and how you respond and react is yours, okay? And as you lead into more confidence with yourself, you also become, or you learn to settle into a place where you're understanding your own father's role in your life. Was he absent? Was he there? Was he a jerk? Did you always think of him through rose-colored glasses? And then all of a sudden this changed when you started to examine the problems that you were having in your life, right? Was it always one-sided? So for example, a lot of people talk to me and say that their mother was causing all of the problems or whatever. But when they reflected and they started telling me their story, you could see that it was literally only because the mother was there all the time that the mother's getting the blame for everything, when the father was the one that was absent. The father was the one that was lackluster. The father was the one that wasn't interested or was abusive or a number of things, right? And so it's really, really looking at yourself in a different way in relation to who has been authority in your life and why. Sometimes it's your grandparents that are in authority, or you have people that you're adopted into, right? So it's different for everybody. But you start to see and develop ways in which you look at other people in your life because of the reflection that you're having within yourself as well. So different structures, your inner and outer reality, you know, how you felt about yourself over all of these years. Again, as I said, how you felt about people in authority in your life, teachers, all that sort of thing too. So you're also looking at personal judgments. You're looking at the way in which you judge or pick on yourself, okay? And seeing if there's something that you can't do to change those things too. Determining the negative impact. So where is this that I'm doing to myself? Where is this hurting me or helping me? Is this hurting me or helping me? Right? By hanging on to this belief structure or criticism of the self or whatever it is this hurting me or is this helping me? Right? Which is it? Because you're going to start to look at things from a sense of what is going to give me the most push in my life, what is giving me the biggest compliment in my life, what is helping me, what is not destroying me, right? And not worrying about the negative feedback from other people either. See, because a lot of the time what we do is we base ourselves and our worth, right, on what anyone else has said. It's not about ourselves and how we see ourselves. It's about how other people see us, right? So a blocking or a resistance starts to happen with regards to the self-judgment. So you're either blocking the self-judgment because it might be actually be a positive thing to be able to adjust something, So you're either blocking it or resisting it in some way, right? Or not allowing it at all. You're not allowing any kind of change to take place. So having a look at old judgmental patterns, how you see authority, and using the way in which you've always reacted and changing that into your adult role, right? If you don't have a good connection with people who've been in authority, then you look at how you would have done differently and implement this into your career, right? Right. So a reflection. So your own bullshit in how you see authority, how you see leadership, and being able to either enhance that or change it completely, right? If something wasn't working or something was difficult for you growing up, you're looking and you're assessing your relationship with the males in your family or the ones who were in authority, and also how you see people in general in authority, police, right? Judges, lawyers, because some people have very disdain for those kind of people. Why? Because they have disdain for their father. And that's as simple as it gets. And that has to leave your energy field, or you won't ever prosper from it as well. So the physical problems that can manifest occur in the bone marrow, the skeletal system, the pituitary gland, the immune system, growths on the skin, on the scalp, enzyme imbalance, acceleration of the aging process, or conversely, rejuvenation of personal vitality and a slowdown of aging, a degeneration or regeneration of organ tissue, or problems associated with the coccyx chakra, right? So when you are ignoring these basic principles of the 10th house and Pluto moving into the 10th house, which is normally the sign Capricorn sits here. Capricorn are determined. They are strong. They are powerful. They usually carry too much bullshit with them, though, to get up and over the hill. So where are you carrying baggage is what you need to look at in order for you to step into leadership. Now, some of you say, hey, well, I'm too old. I'm retired. I'm not working in leadership, or I'm not in management. Okay, so you're managing or becoming the authority of yourself and your emotions, your under emotion or over emotions, your reactions, under reacting or overreacting. Okay, whether it's like you were as a child, are you being petulant? Are you being cruel? Are you being mean? Are you being like a turtle and coming out and snapping people's heads off and then retreating? How are your reactions? Because those are the things that are going to go through the most transformation if you allow that to happen, right? If you don't, then you end up with some of those physical issues that can come up as well. And if you've already been going through physical issues, it does always stem from a resistance to look at your emotional reactions and why they are there. Now, this is extremely important, right? It's important for all of the placements as well, like just for us in general, is to own our own shit, okay? And disregard anything that isn't ours. It's not ours to deal with. Having a really good examination of your relationship with your parents is really, really telling of your own parenting skill and also who you are as a soul. And many of us are going through this real regenerative stage where you're working out that you do not need to be exactly the same and in order to be what's the word? I want to say proficient at what you're doing. You don't have to be exactly the same as somebody else as well. So okay, so let's move into the 11th house. And this is where Aquarius loves to be. This is the Aquarian house. But say Aquarius is in your 11th house, and Pluto is here in Aquarius for you. So what does this mean? Let's share. 11th house of love, social life, companionship, peace and harmony, shared creative efforts, cooperation, participation, beauty, balance, design, small groups, coalitions, fair play, diplomacy, arts and culture, and friends. You see the 11th house is opposite with the 5th house here. And the 5th house is, see, innovation, birth, babies, children, right? Risk taking. And here's play, right? Small groups, collaborations, right? Friendships, social media. Think of the 11th house of social media. So there's going to be a big change in all of these areas, okay? So let's take a look at this. All right. So the 11th house is about friends and connections with social stuff and everything else. And so then when you have Pluto going in here, it's going to accelerate your personal growth as an individual, maybe part of the collective, right? But your individual space here. It's also the energy of wishes, okay, and dreams, etc. So you may find that something that you always thought about is now in your reality. Over the next 20 years, you may have or be collecting more and more things that are valuable to you. There could also be information that impacts on the awareness, your own conscious awareness. So this helps you to heal things that were developed through your creative process as a child. So, you might have played an instrument as a kid and you're taking it into your adulthood. You may grow into another evolution of that over the next 20 years, or want to develop something or a completely different instrument, right? This is, for an example. Friendships can change here too. You are not going to be in a line with everybody forever, right? So the information that you get, it creates a new cycle for you in your life that is not based so much on everybody else, okay? But it's going to be more based on yourself, your dreams, your goals, your wishes, right? This is where it's at. So they have many people who are trying to start something, rely on the public, right? For the public recognition of what they're doing. And this is actually asking you to do a little bit more of the self-work so that the public will just naturally flow to it, right? So, for example, if I was, I don't know, if I was doing witchcraft or something like that, but I don't really believe in it at all. I don't really like it. I don't like to be labeled anything, but I'm trying to push something that I don't really believe in out there, then I wouldn't get any support from anywhere, right? I wouldn't get any social support or anything. It just wouldn't happen. But because I believe in what I'm doing, I naturally get the society to understand where I'm coming from. Like to get people to watch this stuff, right? Not that I need anyone to watch anything, but just to make a point. So when you are trying your best to get people to understand you, or get people to follow you, or you're doing stuff on social media and you want people to, you want to go viral, right? If that won't happen, if you don't have some kind of work within the self about how you see you and your belief systems, how you see your creative abilities, why you have them there, what you've been working on individually, what you've been working on as a group, perhaps, where your boundaries are, where you stand, right? If you haven't done all of this work, it's going to be a lot more difficult for you to become known as well. So you have to also look at the dynamics of confrontation, because You may not like anybody confronting you. You may not like to cause excuse me. You may not just had some soup and I'm like, oh my God. So you may not like it or want to approach anything that someone's going to actually disagree with, right? You might not like that. Some people don't like, I mean, nobody really likes confrontation unless you're a fiery Aries in the 12th house or something, right? But it's like, if you're not sure of yourself, okay, it's like other people will pick on that. It's like I've never had anyone say to me, well, you're not really sure of yourself when it comes to readings or the spiritual stuff. I mean, you know what I mean? So if you're not sure of yourself, it will be exposed, if that makes sense. And when you are certain of yourself, there's nothing that ever needs to be said because it's right there. It's on the surface. Okay. So when you are moving into the things that are more social and the things that are bigger and your friends and all this sort of thing, and you're trying to make a social impact, make sure you believe in what you're doing and that you are confident in that, because it's like nothing worthwhile is built on a unsturdy foundation. It's like if we just put 3 legs, stumps in the ground for a house, what's going to happen? It's eventually falling over, isn't it? And sinking. So your understanding of why things are happening, or why you doubt yourself, or where you want to be in your life, and how your friends connect with you, all of this has to be examined, and how you feel when people will confront you about your beliefs or about your business or about your work or whatever. Are you going to crumble or are you going to stand your ground, right? Because nothing should stop you from where you want to be. Again, this is a time that is also about people having needs and people having the same sorts of needs as you, and you being the expert in many situations here over the next 20 years. So if you don't believe in what you're doing, then you're definitely not going to believe in what you're saying, and people will pull apart this energy. And then you'll have that confrontation that you don't want, you see? So you're looking at anything that's inauthentic and false and removing it from your life. And that includes people who have shown you time and time again they don't give a crap about you, right? It's all about them. And you have to stop trying to win them over, because they should already be on side from day one. If not, there's always been an agenda, right? So physical problems that can manifest during this process of self-examination. So if you're not working on yourself, okay, and you're just ignoring, all right, is a difference between being unaware of what you need to work on and unwilling to work on it. You can be unaware. You don't know that your emotions are causing the bullshit in your body. You don't know. If you don't know, you're unaware. Okay. It's different than knowing and not doing something about it. Okay. So the physical problems that could come if you're ignoring things are sympathetic nervous systems, various levels of stress, problems associated with genetically weak areas, right, that are triggered because of the stress as well. So, for example, if your dad's got glasses or whatever and you haven't had glasses, then you could have this genetically, and you're triggered by the events around you, and all of a sudden you've got eye strain, right? Because you're not looking clearly, right? You're not looking at yourself. Neurological processes. Sometimes people have strokes when Aquarius is in the 11th house here. Problems with the lungs or breathing. When Pluto comes into Aquarius in the 11th house. Problems with lungs, breathing, spinal cord, rashes on the skin, headaches from tension at the base of the skull, in the medulla chakra, dizziness, disturbances in the rhythm of the heartbeat, translating into cycles of high and low blood pressure, problems with the coccyx and cervical the coccyx and the throat chakras as well. Okay. So this process accelerates an evolutionary pace of you. This whole process is speeding things up in one way or another, right? So the need to be free from the past so that rapid growth can occur will promote new and potentially radical thoughts and impulses upon your consciousness. So there's time to make these large, big, massive changes in your life, right? And if you ignore these things, then what it's saying is that you will absorb the social structures around you and accelerate anything genetic in your physical being. So if you don't want to do those things, then examine your place, what you believe in, and what you are projecting to an audience. Okay, looking at your friendships. Are they really your friends or just users? Do they just use you for all your stuff and then you never hear from them again when you've got a problem? Or they might be the typical dumper where they just want to just dump all of their stuff. And then at the very end, oh, how are you? Well, that's not really asking somebody how they are. That's just dumping and then feeling bad about dumping on one level and quickly asking, just so you don't seem like a dumper when you are. So looking at your friend structures, right? Are they, another one, they always complain around you and you're always trying to fix it, and they complain and you try to fix it, and they complain and they try to fix it. One thing, if that's your business, this is not talking about a business of consulting or counseling or therapies. That's different. But if it's your friend and all they do is complain and all they do is, poke passive aggressive statements at you and constantly trying to get the better of you, that's just not your friend. They don't care about you. You're working out who cares, who truly cares about you and who doesn't. Someone who checks in on you, right? Cares about you. Someone that doesn't always have to be talking about themselves, really cares about you, right? And if you're also a friend that is guilty of, just dumping on somebody and then not talking to them again, you're getting adjustments in these areas as well. And this is because your wishes and your dreams and your goals for the future are based on the social structures that you have, right? And some of them may need tearing down. Some of them may need improvement, right? Like a little house, right? We're going to improve over there. We're going to pull that out over there. We're going to get rid of this over here. And rebuilding for some of you is to just flatten it all out and start again, right? No more ties to something just so that you're saving face in some way, right? These are the things to acknowledge in your life. And this is the thing where you're going to also understand your confrontations, how you're confronting others and how they confront you, and how you can be more confident within yourself with your skills and abilities and live it and be it, being authentic. And then you'll start seeing a lot of the things that you've been hoping for throughout your life become your reality. Okay. All right. So finally, let's move through the 12th house. All right. So let's have a look at our 12th house. Here we go. 12th house is, you can find a lot out about someone with different planetary placements in the 12th house. Now, Pluto's, if it's coming into your 12th house and your Aquarius is your 12th house, okay, this is normally the sign of Pisces. Oh, I've got itchies going on. Okay. So this is about details, completion. Obviously, it's 12th house, right? Last sign, order of efficiency, perfection, discrimination, cleanliness, health, remedies, because remember, it's opposite the 6th house here. These two kind of go on together. You'll probably find that, say, for example, you had Virgo here that, and you had Pisces here and you had Virgo here, that you would more than likely have people who were Virgos coming to you with problems, or vice versa, right? Anyway, that's just a little something. So work, competence, skills, research, consulting, problem solving, remedies, cleanliness, tools, systems, techniques, how you process things. These are also hidden enemies are in here as well. Okay. So let's have a look. You have Pluto moving through your 12th house. All right. Oops, sorry, everybody. Okay, stop the share. 12th house. Things in your life that are introspective, things in your life that you keep hidden. Okay. Areas in your life that you don't want necessarily everybody to know about. You might have a health problem. You don't want everybody to know about it. You're not one of these people that talk about yourself in that way all of the time. But here it's like looking and dealing and acknowledging the reality of your illusions, right? Things that are just false, right? Things that don't make any sense as well. Dreams and wishes that you have, or you've had manifested into reality at this time. You're willing and desiring dreams to become reality, right? This 12th house has Aquarius in it, which for you has got Pluto, right? So in your 12th house, but normally it's run by Pisces. Pisces is all about psychic senses, right? It's all about emotion and things like this as well. So you might have hidden emotions regarding something in your life that's big, something that is in your life. You just might have these hidden feelings about it, right? So it's also about your connection with it's like there are some desires that you have that you may not let other people know about. For example, you might want to be an opera singer, right? To you, it is just a dream, a pipe dream. It's something hidden. It's something that you wouldn't tell everybody. But in this, you're being asked to bring it out a little bit more. You're being asked to assess the things that you keep on the inside. You're asked to look at your dreams and your goals and your visions and your psychic self. You're asked to look at all of these things that are hidden, and also your dreams too. There might be some things that you're dissolving in this life as well, because Pisces has this energy of dissolving. It is water-based, but if you, okay, so let's say we have a big old rock and the waves keep on crashing against this rock, right? Is the rock going to stay jagged? Not for long. It'll eventually dissolve. It eventually softens over time, right? Because of the impact of that the water has against the hard surface. It eventually dissolves it. It eventually smooths it, right? So it's talking about you knocking something for so long or looking at something for so long where you eventually soften or dissolve the intensity or the your fight against it, and you actually give into it. And when you do, that's when you find your aspect of truer happiness within yourself as well. So you might have some dreams that are about past lives. You might be really, really caught up in the past itself, what you might have been in a past life, right? For example, you might also be focused a little bit more on helping people with their mediumship skills or interpreting dreams, the occult, things that are a little parapsychological, right? Psychological. So paranormal. You might be looking at these sorts of things, and instead of it being just something that you're interested in as a hobby, Okay. You might be doing it more like doing, I don't know, doing haunted houses and doing a research thing there or whatever, recording ESPs or whatever, right? So you are really going in through your senses, you're going through your psychic stuff, you're going through paranormal stuff, you're looking at things in a bigger, broader way. You're looking at hidden things within you that you love that you might push more out into the surface. Um, you might also be looking at things that are within other civilizations and things like that as well. You're looking at source, you're looking at God, you're looking at the evolution of your own abilities here. But you're also not repressing anything, because if you do negatively, you will end up with some physical problems. So, okay, when you are not addressing the inner needs and desires, like the things that you dream about, the things that you love, right? And you're just suppressing it because of, whatever, your family, religion, friends, whatever concerns you have. Maybe you're just concerned that your kids will just, not like it anymore, right? Then you can end up with problems in allergic reactions, super sensitivities, right? So you block your sensitivity, right? So it becomes super exaggerated. And this comes with the endocrine system, the immune system, the hypothalamus, the pineal gland. You could try to be, you might also be relieving yourself of some other stuff, but these new things might turn up. There might be a sensitivity to impurities. You can't have sugar. You can't have all of that, which is a good thing. So any genetic problems, any enzyme balances, any problems associated with the pancreas, the liver, the colon, the intestines, problems that can't be diagnosed normally. So you just might have some things that only happen sometimes. So, you might get a burning sensation on the top of your head, but it's not there all of the time, right? It's only there sometimes. So it really encourages you this introspective time of understanding your inner desires, your inner things that you really love, and allowing yourself to bring it more out into the open as part of your process. Because to deny yourself those things any longer results in physical problems that we've just talked about. There is also signs that you will get that you are on the correct pathway or that something needs adjusting. When you start having problems, for example, with your thyroid or any of your glandular system or your immunity system, these are all things that are not free flowing. They're not working properly. Okay, so there's blockages. When you have blockages, it's because you are not processing emotions very well, or allowing your desires to be on the surface, or you're living a lie. You don't want to say that you are happy in a circumstance with Pluto being in Aquarius for you in the 12th house. Don't say that you're happy if you're not. It will be a time of really re-examining the next phase of your life, okay? And understanding that you might have been suppressing your true desires for too long, and now's the time to safely bring them out to the surface. Psychic phenomena, an increase in abilities, an increase in your senses and sensitivities will happen as you're going up in these levels. So you've got to make sure you're taking care of yourself as well. And denying these things, you end up with these problems. I see this all the time. We're working with people with thyroid issues, for example. They need to communicate, or they need to say what it is they really want. And they're so afraid of upsetting the apple cart that they don't say anything, and it doesn't work. It doesn't flow. It's not working. Of course, then there's other problems that happen to your physical body when one thing's not working. It tends to be like a snowball effect, and all of the things are going out haywire, right? So it's time. It's time to look at these things, look at the dreams that you have and your goals and your wishes. Have a look at the things that are unprocessed, undissolved, okay, dissolving things and softening things in your own mind and your heart and your soul, okay, to bring yourself and your desires into, to bring you and your desires into harmony, right? And to allow yourself to flow. No more aggro, no more fighting against the self. It comes to this point where you're shifting and lifting and growing. Where Pluto was in Capricorn for you would have been your what is it, your 8th house. So it would have been your 11th house. It would have been there for you since 2008 to this year. So your like social and your friends and all of those things were meaningful to you, right? And things were changing and friends were changing. And now you're looking and you're implementing this within yourself. You're also using skills from your past lives, which you're just going to close your eyes and you're going to say, okay, what was I doing in a past life? And it's like the first thing that comes to you, right? You will understand. You'll start to understand. You'll start to put the pieces together. Looking through all of the signs of the zodiac where Pluto is pushing and the correlation of the house, you know, it really starts to make sense to your healing journey and how you can also adopt certain strategies from different ones and incorporate it into your life, right? And see how much you've changed in this whole process. Like, so each one of you have gone through a massive evolutionary change yourself and going through another one for another 20 some years. So have a look at what you were doing in 2008 to 2024. What was your finances like, right? Where was it sitting for you? Which house was Pluto in when it was in Capricorn? Which house was that, right? Go and have a listen to what you've just been through, and then how you're evolving into the next step, to the next house, to the next journey, to the next expansion, and see what starts to come for you as well. So everybody, I hope that you have enjoyed this series and you know where to connect with me, my website, okay, BDevineonline.com. And that's it. And my Teachable, of course. So I hope to hear from you at some point. If not, I will see you in the next video. Lots of thanks and lots of love, and bye for now.